right, so you are going to want to have figured out what the equation is, for example, one before you watch this video. So you figured that out, and now you're going to watch it. So I'm going to move this. So our equation was 1/2 plus 1/3 equals what? So you can click on this link right here in the blue, and that will take you to this website, okay? And we are going to use the fraction strips to help us answer this question. So we have our 1/2 on the top in the pink right here, and we are going to put 1/2 and 1/3 underneath the pink 1/2. Now we don't know how much of the whole that is. We just know it's 1/2 plus 1/3. We want to have one fraction to represent both of those fractions being added together. So to do this, we're going to try and fit different pieces underneath those two to see if they fit. So if I start with the biggest piece, 1/2 and 1/2, that doesn't really work because you see how these aren't lined up. So we're going to try something else. We'll try 1/3. Maybe 1/3 fit. And I can see kind of already that's not going to work. They're not lined up here either. So let's try a different one. Maybe 1/4 will fit. That's close, but they're still not really lined up. All right, what about 1/5? Not quite. See, they're almost getting closer, but not quite all the way. Let's try 1/6. All right, and notice how this one actually lines up perfectly. So that is what we're looking for, this exact same line to show that they fit underneath. Okay, so now we're going to try and figure out how can I figure out that 1/6 is the fraction that I'm going to use without having to guess and check with the fraction strips every single time. So what we can do, because we know here that 1/2 plus 1/3 equals 5/6. Now you might say, oh, well, 2 times 3 is 6, but remember, fractions, whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. And if I multiply 2 times 3, if I do that to the top, did I get 3 on the top? No, that doesn't work. So you can use that method to figure out what the denominator is going to be. So let's take a look at our 1/2 fraction. So I'll do that in blue. If I have 1/2 and I know that my denominator needs to be 6, what am I multiplying 2 by to get 6? 2 times 3. If I multiply that by 3, I have to multiply the top by 3. So my new fraction would be 3/6, which you can see over here, 1/2 equals 3/6. Now if we do the same thing with the 1/3, I know that my 1/3, my denominator is going to be 6. So what did I multiply 3 by to get 6? I multiplied it by 2. If I multiply the bottom, I have to do the same on the top. So 1 times 2 is 2. Now finally, I'm going to take this fraction, so I'll highlight that, 3/6 and 2/6, and I'm going to add those together. Remember, you can add fractions together as long as the denominator is the same. So 3/6 plus 2/6 will equal my 5/6, which is what we got in the answer. So the key thing to remember is that you need to make sure your denominators are the same. If they're not the same, figure out a denominator that both fractions have in common. So this one had 2 and 3. The number that they had in common was 6.